Forkel was staggered by what he'd found and troubled. That such masterpieces should be forgotten along with their creator would be a terrible, unconscionable loss. He felt morally compelled to bring Bach back from cultural oblivion. He took up the cause, and I think we can call his efforts a success story. Forkel's actions inspired the rescue and revival by other scholars of other composers, names once all but forgotten, but now familiar to the entire music-loving world. Names like Vivaldi, Purcell, Telemann, Scott Joplin, Hildegard von Bingen. Such rescue work continues, of course. We'll be hearing the fruits of some of these efforts in just a few moments. Meanwhile, I did want to stress that musicological research is, or can be, an ethical undertaking. The sense of moral outrage that sparked the Bach revival is the basic human impulse to right or wrong. Call it karma, or to keep it kosher, you could call it tikkun olam, the Jewish precept of repairing the world. Whatever the label, this was a feeling that nagged at Forkel. It signaled to him that it just wasn't fair that Bach should be lost to posterity. Not fair to Bach, not fair to posterity. The historical record had to be set straight. Nowadays, the same spirit underlies efforts to bring to light music by historically marginalized artists, to augment and diversify the standard repertoire with works by, for example, women composers and composers of color, and is here today to give a fair hearing to music unjustly unknown because the careers and lives of its creators were upended and destroyed by war and the genocidal policies of the Third Reich. The next three works on today's program were drawn from the Holocaust Cantata, a suite of pieces from the Nazi camps selected and arranged in the late 1990s by the choir director Donald McCullough. Mr. McCullough's source for this music was my home institution, the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, specifically our single largest music holding, the Alexander Kulishevich collection. I'll have to say a few words about this camp song collector, Kulishevich, the man who saved this music. Can I cue the magic lantern? Yeah, that's him. He was a Pole, not Jewish, born in Krakow in 1918. He was a gifted musician and entertainer with a strong anti-authoritarian streak. This latter trait got him in deep trouble as soon as the Germans occupied Poland in 1939. Kulishevich hated the fascists and couldn't keep quiet about it. He was in short order arrested, tortured, and dispatched to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp near Berlin, where he spent the next 5+ years as a political prisoner. But his creative talent proved to be his saving grace at Sachsenhausen. He took on the role of camp troubadour, valued and protected by his fellow prisoners as a poet, songwriter, and performer, and tolerated, indeed sometimes protected by the camp authorities, who, it must be said, also craved distraction and diversion. While at the camp, Kulishevich wrote, according to his own tally, 54 songs on a range of personal and topical themes. He possessed an extraordinary memory, and other prisoners sought him out to remember their songs, songs they hoped might survive the camp, even if they themselves did not. After the war, from a hospital sickbed, Kulishevich dictated hundreds of pages of poems and songs he'd memorized at the behest of his comrades. He later reported that the attending nurses thought he was a madman. No doubt, Kulishevich was touched by a mania for documenting and collecting the songs of camp prisoners, and not just from Sachsenhausen, but from throughout the Nazi gulag. Attempting to rationalize the mountain of material he'd obsessively collected for decades before his death in 1982, he once declared, "I came to this earth to share with you pain with the same passion others use to hoard their gold." I could go on about Kulishevich, but I needn't because he himself has recently emerged from undeserved obscurity. Some here may have seen the feature not long ago in the Wall Street Journal titled "The Man Who Saved the Music of the Nazi Camps." This was excerpted from the just published Kulishevich biography called Sing Memory. You have the next slide there, that's the book cover. I'm going to plug it a little bit. The author is Makana Eyre, E-Y-R-E. The book is exceptionally well written, researched, and readable. Musicologist recommended. In a moment, Elad Kabilio, along with pianist Alison Lovejoy, will take the floor to perform some selections, including some by Yusuf Kropinski, as arranged for the Holocaust Cantata. Last image. This is Kropinski, a Polish violinist and political, which is to say not Jewish prisoner at Auschwitz and Buchenwald. He was perhaps the most prolific composer in the entire camp system. Yet after the war, after liberation, and until his death at the early age of 56, he never wrote another note of music. Pieces we'll hear, and about 100 more by the same composer, owe their survival to Kulishevich's collecting mania, to the sense of moral obligation he felt toward comrades known and unknown, whose voices were prematurely and unjustly silenced. Thank you for your time. Please now to turn it over to Elad.